Hey y'all, Austin here, and I'm going to talk about Record Store Day 2019, what I think of the list, and might give you some tips and tricks at the end. If you hear like traffic in the background, I don't know if the phone's going to pick it up. I moved into this sweet apartment that I absolutely love, but there's a very busy road directly in front of it, and it sounds very loud in here, but I don't know if it's coming through. So anyway, I'm going to get to the stuff that I picked. Overall, I think that this is one of the weaker record store days, and I've been going since 2012, 2013, something like that. 2013, I think. And I think this is one of the weakest, just for my personal music taste that I know of. There's not a whole lot on here I really want. I'll probably do the same thing, get up at 4:35 a.m. and go stand in line just because it's a Saturday and I got nothing else to do. But there's nothing on here that I really have to have, whereas last year there was a bunch of things that I really thought I needed, and year before that, and so on. And even Black Friday Record Store Day, there was stuff that I really, really, really wanted. But, anywho, go down the list. The first thing I have in alphabetical order is Fleetwood Mac, the alternative Fleetwood Mac. Now, I got the alternative Tusk a couple years ago, I think 2016 maybe. And I really liked that. It was cool. It had, just a bunch of outtakes and demos, and that's what this one apparently has also. I haven't heard any of the tracks from this. I don't know if any are out, like digitally or on YouTube or anything, but depending on how much that is, I'll probably pick it up, just because I really like Fleetwood Mac. It's limited to 12,500 worldwide, and yeah, I've got my eye out for that. Pink Floyd, A Saucer Full of Secrets in mono, limited to 6,500. I got the Piper at the Gates of Dawn last year, which I absolutely love. A Saucer Full of Secrets is not one of my favorite Floyd records. I know that there's a big group of people who really like the Syd Barrett era. No offense, but I'm not one of those people. I think Piper at the Gates of Dawn was good. And I know he only played on a couple songs on this one, but that early Pink Floyd, it's not my favorite era of them, whereas the late 70s Pink Floyd I absolutely love. But anyway, A Saucer Full of Secrets in mono, I'll probably pick it up just because I know how great the Piper at the Gates of Dawn was, so I want to see if this one can help change my mind about early Pink Floyd. One thing I was interested in, but then looked into it a little further, so I marked it out, was the Woodstock mono PA version. I was hoping that it would have different soundtracks or different songs than the movie soundtracks, but it pretty much doesn't. I mean, there might be a couple different ones, but the bands that I care about, they have the exact same songs as the other one, so I'm not really that interested in that anymore. Another thing I was really interested in that I had to cross out was the Canned Heat, Remembering Woodstock, I think is what it was called. I was hoping that that would be their Woodstock performance, but it's not. It's their Woodstock era songs like On the Road Again and Going Up the Country and all those, but performed at various times through like the 70s, which, no offense to Canned Heat fans, but without Alan Blind Owl Wilson, I have little interest in later Canned Heat. So one thing Probably the thing I'm most excited about is Badfinger, So Fine, the Warner Brothers Rarities. It's limited to 900. It's a limited run regional release, so I have no idea if a record store around here will be getting it, especially since it's only limited to 900. But I really like Badfinger. I think they're very underrated, and I'd be very interested to hear about what their rarities and demos and whatnot sound like. It's 2 LPs, and I'm gonna keep my eye out for that. One that I have marked that I'm not sure whether or not I'm gonna get, simply because I have not heard the album, is Robert Plant's Fate of Nations. It's limited to 1,000, and I just haven't heard that Robert Plant album. I might listen to it and give it a shot, and if I like it, pick it up if I've got the funds. But we will see. So that was my Record Store Day official releases. Then a couple, the Badfinger and the Robert Plant one were Record Store Day regional focus releases. Now we're on to Record Store Day first releases. The Allman Brothers Band live at Fillmore East, February 1970, limited to 1,500. It, I believe, comes with like a blacklight poster, and it's got a really cool cover art, it looks like, with the Allman Brothers mushroom. So I'll probably be picking that up because I really like Allman Brothers and their live material, especially their late 60s and early 70s stuff. Third Man Records is releasing or re-releasing Lightnin' Hopkins Strums the Blues. I don't know a lot about this release. I don't have it. It doesn't say on here what it's limited to. I don't know if it's, colored or 180 gram or what. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know that I absolutely love Lightnin' Hopkins, a fellow Houstonian. So I will probably be picking that up if my record store has it. One thing that's a maybe for me, and I think we're 11 days out now from Record Store Day, something like that, and the set list for this, or the track list for this record is still not listed on the website, so I'm not certain about dropping money on this when I don't know what songs are going to be on it. But it's Elton John Live from Moscow. It's a double LP, limited to 4,000. And I think it's from 1979. I could be mistaken, but I want to say I looked that up, and it's from 1979. But I can't find out what songs are on it, so a little iffy on that. Another thing, and this might be the last thing, let me look. Yeah, this is the last thing for my my list, is the Office Space soundtrack. Limited to 2,500. I think it's on Stapler Red, which is pretty great. But the Office Space soundtrack, I mean, it's got all sorts of stuff, and it's got the Ghetto Boys, and it's just a great soundtrack. I watched the movie again recently. I ended up getting it on Blu-ray because I found it at Walmart for like $3 or something, and it's great. I love that movie. I haven't seen it in years, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for the Office Space soundtrack as well. So yeah, that's my Record Store Day list. I know it probably sounds like a lot, but if a lot of those are $35, $40, something like that, then I'm not probably going to pick them up. The main ones for me, Saucer Full of Secrets, the Badfinger one, and the Allman Brothers one. But some tips and tricks, real short and sweet. Get there early, especially if you're in a big city. Here in Houston, I get there at maybe 6 a.m., 5 a.m. sometimes, depending on how bad I want stuff. And I'm usually like 15 to 30th in line. which I know is a big gap, but I've been going for several years now, and that's just kind of the range I'm in. But I know people in LA will go and stay the entire night before at Amoeba. But my biggest pointer is to add your local record store on social media, or find their email, or something of the sort. Contact them in some way and type out on a very nice email or Facebook message or Instagram message or whatever the stuff you want. And I usually just say, like, hey, I hate to be a bother. I know that you're probably getting 1,000 of these emails, but can you please tell me if you have these things in stock? I know that kind of defeats the fun of not knowing and whatnot, but I'm trying to go for specific things, and I want to know if I'm really looking forward to these 3 or 4 things. If my record store doesn't have those, then there's no point in me really going, because I'm not going to buy, something that I've never heard of or have no interest in. So I highly recommend doing that, and that's my main pointers, are just to get there early, and definitely message them beforehand and ask. I'll message my local record store, I will email them and say, hate to be a bother, but do you have these, dozen records? And they'll message me back, usually like the night before record store day, and say, here's what we have. And they'll just copy and paste yours and tell you the quantity that they have, or if they don't have it, why they don't have it. A lot of it is shipping stuff, or they put in for something and just never got it. But last year I went to a big record store here in Houston, and I knew that the record store that I was going to had all the stuff I wanted. My friends didn't email the record store, so I sent them. They asked me where to go, and I said, well, I'm already here, so why don't y'all go to the smaller record store, and then if they don't have what you want, you can call me, and then I can get you the one thing that you want. And lo and behold, they waited at this store for a few hours, doors open, and they didn't have anything that they wanted. And they were devastated. They really wanted one thing, and it was the Florence and the Machine 7-inch. But, I mean, they didn't even get that. The guy put in and asked for, a dozen of them or whatever, and he didn't get any. So, definitely don't waste your time by just waiting in line blind. I would say email them and ask. And if you have any questions about Record Store Day, what you should do, some good recommendations, what have you, go ahead, comment them below, or shoot me a message. And, yeah, adios.